Hey, everybody, and happy Easter, and welcome
Well, it's not Easter when this comes out.
Well, no, but it is today. And welcome to a new episode of Indie Film Cafe. I'm your host, the Moo Cow, a.k.a. A Presenza, and I'm joined by...
Jonathan Moody, your co-host.
And together we are joined by...
Why do you encourage him? Just Jenn.
You know this. This is not like, this is what I do now.
And I tell you, don't encourage him every time.
I like it because even if I don't encourage him, he's still going to do it.
I need little encouragement.
That's true. That's true.
So, as you all know, I've been kind of taking it easy on our buddy Just Jenn here after Miss Werewolf kind of sort of broke her spirit. And for about a year there, I was kind of,
Puma Man.
Which she requested, and, a few nice things. And, those days are gone. Weird.
We're back.
We're back, baby.
I brought cookies.
I know.
She brought cookies. She brought you like because it's your birthday tomorrow. She brought you like a nice little
This should be a fun movie. It's a little out there and it's a little on the rough side, but I think you guys are strong enough to take it. We're going to go back into the way, 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 way back machine and go all the way back in history to 2022.
Oh yeah, that's so long ago.
And we are going to watch.
Feels like it sometimes.
Yeah, it does.
A movie called Attack of the Killer Chickens.
More frightening than anything you've ever seen. Beyond anything you've ever seen before. Attack of the Killer Chickens.
Oh, I think I've heard of this one. I think it might be a Tubi or something.
Okay.
It doesn't sound too bad, is it?
It doesn't sound too bad.
Your level of sounding too bad is already
right.
skewed.
Well, he has me watch What the Fuck Friday movies. So.
I know.
Trust me, I've had this about 6 months. It's been burning a hole in my pocket. I was like, oh, I could save this for Maku or maybe Jolene, but I couldn't stand it anymore. Had to play it. And so you are the beneficiary of our chicken movie.
Oh, I know the chick who made it.
There you go.
Genevieve Rossi.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
So, we will be back to talk about this movie after we hear some mood music.
We'll be back.
Are you saying we're Bach?
We are Bach.
Oh, no.
Exactly. So, what did you guys think of Attack of the Killer Chickens, the movie?
It was clucking stupid. But it was like, it knew it was stupid. Like, which...
It sure did.
Which kind of made it more fun to me, because like they hadn't taken this seriously and stuff. Like it wouldn't have been nearly as much fun.
So you're saying it wasn't quite the bad egg you were expecting?
Well, no, I knew like it was a comedy. I mean, if you look at the picture, the cover of it, it's a comedy. It's not meant to be.
You think so?
Yeah, it's obviously a silly little parody of like space chickens. Like, it's obviously a comedy from the very beginning. You know it, So.
I guess. I mean, it could be a sci-fi thriller.
The military cannot stop them. Bombs cannot stop them. Nothing can stop the attack of the killer chickens.
Just Jenn, what did you think?
That was horrible. That was... No.
No.
Not my kind of movie.
No, not Jen's kind of movie.
Was it too intense or too scary or too violent? Or...
It was scary. Yeah. That's how bad it was. It scared me.
It scared you?
I thought it would never end.
Gosh, it
only
was
an hour and 3 minutes
I
long.
know.
Yeah, it's about an hour too long.
Well, like I said, this movie was based on a short, and
Should have stayed in shorts.
that's a great idea for a short film. But yeah, to make it out into an hour-plus movie, I mean, Thank goodness it wasn't a 2-hour movie. There's just no way I could have gone 2 hours with this. But
I would have walked out halfway through.
Right about that part that it
gotten-
actually ended. You would have been like, I'm done.
Oh.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of fun parts. There are a lot of parts that I laughed. It's just that there were also a lot of parts where the comedy just kind of went on, and it just
Well,
sort
it
of
wasn't.
ground.
It wasn't as funny. Like after it dragged on, it just wasn't. As... Now I can see why a lot of it they did that because they needed to to raise the time a little bit longer. So probably where they normally would cut, they kept it going because it was, it needed to be over an hour, or whatever for length. So I get some of it because it doesn't do it all the time. It just does it a couple times.
Sure.
So I get it. It didn't bother me.
Okay.
So do you have any background on this movie?
Not a whole heck of a lot, other than it was written, directed, produced, starred, and puppeteered by Genevieve Rossi, who is an actress who's been in a bunch of different things. I think you said you recognized her.
No, I don't recognize her. I know her from Facebook. Yeah, we're Facebook friends, and we talk all the time. So great.
And I believe this is her first directorial. This is a directorial.
Yeah, I believe so.
Debut for Cluck Cluck Productions LLC.
I wonder if she's going to stay that. If that's just for that one movie.
God, I hope so. The
More
the
chicken
world
movies?
needs more ridiculous chicken movies. You know me. You know me with anything with ridiculous puppets attacking people. I'm just going to automatically love it.
Yeah.
I know.
And so ridiculous.
I have to express something real quick and address something. Sometimes when we watch these movies and we say things like, this is terrible or this stinks, Paul and I actually like that.
Yes.
That's our kind of style of movies.
Woohoo!
So when we do the stinkometer, we give something a high stinkometer. That's almost praise, and people don't really realize this. They think we're just saying that their movie is terrible, and some people they really truly believe their movie was great. And that's fantastic.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Genevieve Rossi knows exactly
at the
how
end of
this
the
movie
movie,
was.
She says this movie stinks. Right?
Well, before she almost got fired.
Right.
By herself.
Yeah, by herself. So she's like, that's the whole joke,
Yeah.
is that like she knows this movie isn't great.
It's very tongue-in-cheek, or should I say tongue-in-beak.
No.
Yeah,
no,
he's gonna keep
no.
doing it. It's gonna
Oh,
happen.
no.
Beaks the movie.
Just go with it.
I have the
Jen.
one foul joke after another.
Even Lloyd Kaufman said foul at
I
one
know.
point. This is a foul movement.
Right.
It was nice to see him.
So,
honestly.
yeah, it's a lot of dad joke humor, a lot of, cocks and bad eggs and all that kind of stuff. So, is it too obvious for you? Is that it? Or is it just maybe that it just went on too long?
Well, I think one of the main problems that I really couldn't enjoy it, and there were some cheesy parts, there were some silly parts, I could see where the humor was trying to go, was I didn't find the storyline. Like, it just was like bits and pieces just put together, and
True.
I couldn't find the storyline, and then it ended. I was grateful it ended, but it just was like, okay. And there were a couple parts that, are not my cup of tea, as we have discussed before. But I think my main problem with it is, what was the story?
Yeah.
You had random ass characters, and I was just like, okay, how is this? Okay. And some of them I get, you're trying to show the chickens taking over different places and bits and pieces, but with the same character making what was the chick's, Lisa, making appearances throughout, you're like, okay, so we're following her story? No, we're not. We're following this other's. Why is this guy showing up here?
It's like an episode of Indie
Yeah.
Film Cafe. Where we go in like 20 different directions.
Does
Yeah.
kind of feel like somewhere along the lines, Genevieve Rossi perhaps thought, let's make this fun, ridiculous chicken movie, and that should make itself. And there wasn't really an actual A to B to C narrative in mind. Which
I think it was probably a lot of improv. It does feel like it was improv a lot, and that's fine. I mean, it actually reminded me of like there's a movie that I love. We'll probably do one day on Indie Film Cafe. It's called Punk Rock Holocaust, and
Nice.
and it's directed by Doug Sackman, who is a trauma guy, and it was set in the Vans Warped Tour, right? So it was just literally a serial killer running around killing like bands from the Warped Tour. So I had like Bowling for Soup, and they would get killed, or whatever. All these different bands.
Should be.
Well, that's what you would like. Is you like, I hate all these punk bands. I want them all dead. And then that's what the guy's doing. I never said that. Well, some of those emo punk bands are probably,
But yeah, I mean, clearly there were scenes where they were filming stuff at a convention.
Right.
I mean, it looked out like the David Naughton stuff.
Well, David Naughton, Brendan Fletcher, and John Dugan definitely were there.
That's how you get those guys, is you go to the convention, you say, hey, do you mind doing this? Because they're not going to be able to afford to fly them out or, put them up in a hotel. They're already there.
Yeah, so you go to David Naughton's hotel, and he's supposed to be the president of the United States, and you can see like his hotel table in the background, and you can tell like this was definitely not filmed on a on a set or anything like that. This was filmed in his set.
Somewhere Roger Corman is nodding his head in agreement because he knows how to squeeze a nickel until it screams. I mean, this is how you do it.
Well, and Lloyd Kaufman makes a cameo, and they actually filmed in Troma, because I believe Genevieve lives in like New York area, so she probably just went down to the Troma thing, said, "Hey Lloyd, do you mind if I?" Or she asked probably ahead of time, got his approval, and he just let these fake chicken puppets kill him. Like why not?
Well, sort of. They just sort of mildly,
they just
annoyed
pecked at
him.
him.
Yeah.
It was like bark, bark,
so.
bark, bark.
What, Jen, what did you think of the puppets, the chicken puppets? And there were a bunch of them. Clearly the budget went towards the puppets.
All $5 of it. I couldn't believe when it first appeared. I was like, wait, no, huh? Oh, no.
But you know what? I love that. I like that better than if it had been CGI. If it had been CGI, I would have been like, oh, yeah.
All right, but
puppets.
I don't think they could afford CGI for this. I think
you've seen some of the crappy CGI we've seen. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah, but even then, I think it wouldn't have. Yeah, it definitely would not have looked. I mean, good.
Think about it this way.
Been as much fun.
Remember, Fungicide. Mm-hmm. And remember the mushroom puppets there, and then you had some CGI mushrooms, and you had some other mushrooms.
I'm not saying CGI would have been better. I think the puppets could have been better. There were some knitted sweaters that were repurposed.
Do you think those puppets were better than the mushroom puppets?
I don't.
She doesn't remember that
in detail. I don't know.
I think the puppets were good. I liked them. They all
of course you would.
Were kind of individual. I like that too. It was funny, like you pointed out, when clearly Betty's chicken puppet had long eyelashes and pink, so you knew it was a female puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was fun.
Betty was definitely a female puppet, and that was.
And then the leader puppet seemed to have some kind of armor or some kind of thing.
Yeah, the capes on and. Mm-hmm.
So I liked that, and I'm a sucker for weird, bizarre puppets. Mm-hmm. And clearly, you could tell many times when they are attacking, there's somebody behind a tree where you could put two puppet hands on your hands and be hidden more or less, and attack people with the puppets. Which is awesome.
I love how it had it where. At one point and you even pointed this out about it, but like there's one point where there was one chicken right here, and there was another person with another, but they were like right off camera. And so it's like obvious that that's what the lamb was. And I was expecting to see a hand. I don't think we saw a hand at all. And
I think I saw an arm, but I didn't see a hand.
Yeah. Well, you saw a body at one point because you can actually see somebody behind. I think it was behind Lloyd Kaufman or something, and you're like, oh, there's somebody obviously behind Lloyd.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, this is just indie filmmaking at its best, where you're taking something that clearly, if you were trying to do a serious film, would be a serious flaw, and instead you're using that to your advantage by making it fun, and you're making it, an asset as opposed to a detractment.
Exactly. Like,
so
I mean, I think it was fun. I think she had the idea originally when she did the short to do a short, make a short film about killer chickens coming from space and attacking us. And she was like, I can make a whole feature out of this and still have some of the puppets and everything. And then she did. I mean, no, why not? I mean, if you have the ability to go and make, killer chickens, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, I would.
I know you would. See, this is exactly the movie you'd make.
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. I know you tend to prefer the old 50s style kind of sci-fi movies.
Well, she liked Hobgoblins.
I
mean, didn't like it, but
yeah.
she enjoyed
there was
watching it.
a little bit of that in the beginning when you had the space chicken and then you had the eggs and the chickens were invading through the eggs. Now, I would have loved to have seen one of these egg spaceships come down and land with the chickens coming out, but I guess that was not within the budget.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was like the scene that started that off was like after I guess they landed, all the eggs squirted out or whatever. Then what is it? The main girl Lisa and her girlfriend
Jill,
I think.
I thought she
wife,
kept like
Jill.
I kept hearing sort of an accent on the name or something because the guy said Jill, but I thought she said, oh, I thought Joe or something like that, or Joan. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, Jill. So Jill and Lisa are like together, and all of a sudden she brought in a chicken, that she had found.
As you do.
And then she said, I guess this guy had got out or whatever, which wasn't the case. He had just, came to Earth or whatever. And so they're like, oh, we could eat him. And he was like, what? Like, no, you better not eat me. And so then he attacked her and they had to kick him, kick the chicken to the curb and everything. So I don't know. It was such a strange opening.
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of like what could have been is if if they had the money or if they had the the effects or anything. But remember in the one we loved with God, my brain doesn't work anymore. I know. The one with Gurr, remember?
Oh, the werewolf one.
The Lost Skeleton of Cadaver, for crying out loud. That's what I couldn't remember.
The Lost Skeleton of Cadaver.
Yeah, that they're in the opening, or towards the opening, where they have the spaceship made out of a couple of toilet paper rolls and some cardboard going down in reverse onto a little cardboard set. I mean, something like that would have been fun.
Which we never did on Indie Film Cafe yet.
Yeah, I know.
Yet.
It is an overlooked, ridiculous error on my part.
I bet you thought we
I really thought we did.
On season 1.
How did I not subject you guys to that? It's just amazing.
You talked about it.
Yeah, God, that's my problem. My list of movies is so long.
I know, and you. I mean, I bet you thought we did because
I really
Jen
did.
loves that kind of stuff. But no, that's not what. Was not one of them.
Well, I mean, this is in that vein, except this is a little bit more sort of over the top and a little bit more nod, wink, wink. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is more of a straight up parody of all. They even parody the Warriors.
The Warriors, yeah.
Which was so strange. Like, it did not feel like something that, like, at first when they were like just like humans come out to play,
Yay!
And then they. And then I was like, okay, so that's funny. Like they paired. Then they actually did a whole like
the turf
war and Cyrus
for
and
no real
like,
reason.
I was like, is this just like
because again, it's not so much that it helps the narrative. It's just it's there because it's a joke. It helps. It makes it funny.
Yeah, it makes you take away from the fact that you're just watching a movie about killer chickens attacking people.
Right.
And then they go and attack people after that, Which is
great. There was a lot of chickens attacking people. That I liked.
You were right that at one point toward more the end of the movie, like middle end of the movie, it sort of slowed down. And it wasn't really about the chickens anymore. It was about other stuff going on or whatever. And I think that's where they were losing, like, maybe like they didn't want to probably do so much chickens coming and killing people the whole time Because that would be sort of boring, right? Like every single second, a chicken comes. Well, you wanted that though. You would have liked
Darn
that.
straight, man. More
but,
chicken action.
But I would have been bored by that.
Like
because
they
after a
hinted
while,
at the chicken kung fu. I would have loved to have seen that.
chicken. You said chicken kung fu versus chicken kung pao.
Kung pao, right?
Chicken kung pao.
That would have been
chicken.
fun.
That would have been yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely room where you could have expanded a few more of those things, and that it's fine. I mean, again, when you're dealing with a very limited budget, you can only do what you can do. But yeah, the movie at the second or the last third ends up doing more things with Edward X. Young, and that's kind of where
he had
things
a shaved face too.
Yeah.
He shaved himself
and that's where things kind of slowed down with him and Betty and the Star Child and all that. Although I gotta say, when we finally get to see John Link, and that was great. That from that point on, it was pretty darn awesome.
I don't think Jen's ever seen John Link.
I could have lived my whole life without it. It would have been perfectly fine.
John
Honestly.
is
so funny.
I've had John on my radio show back in the day when I did
He's a bit
Blog
of a
Talk,
wackadoodle.
and he's just he's a little wacky, but he's such a funny guy. Like I don't even know if he realizes like half the time how funny he is. He just is himself, you know, and that worked for this movie.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
that was
like, absolutely
great. See him in there in a diaper with no shirt on and a chicken beak, going bark bark bark. I mean, that almost made the whole thing worth it, as far as I'm concerned.
You could have just watched that and you would have been fine. That could have been a whole short film, and you would have been just fine with that.
It's just funny. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, it's just that there was a lot less fighting at that point. You know, it was all sort of like a lot of props. It was the same hand and eye props. They would have it on the plate. Then somebody would be messing around with it. Then they'd be in the refrigerator. But there was a whole lot less fighting action going on. So I'm thinking of the Richard Mogg film that we saw.
Yeah, I was thinking of
Hot Chicks Blast Uranus.
Hot Chicks Blast Uranus.
Where there was kind of action where they were fighting the one-eyed stuffies from outer space, the one-eyed Elmos.
I told you, this reminded me of
Yeah,
that movie.
yeah. It's
and
very
because
similar.
It's a puppet thing, and the puppets from space.
And I love that. I love that.
Coming into
But there was that kind of action was throughout the whole thing. So beginning, middle, and end. So I think in this case, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more puppet fighting, a little more chicken action in the end as well. Maybe there could have been a fight between Betty and Edward X. Young or something a little bit more, juicy, dare I say.
Yeah.
What you didn't like after a while was there was too much of the news
or
reporter.
Oh yeah, the news reporter guy went on a bit. He was a good link, but I think they went back to him
Link.
too much. Yeah.
They try to make jokes with John Link too. You're the missing link.
Ba-doop. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. But yeah, you're right. Like he was sort of, for a while, he was sort of the narrator in a way. Even though we had this lady who would come in every now and then,
Yeah, so that was confusing too.
The wraparound character.
Okay, yeah, but they don't explain it. I
guess she's supposed to be showing you the movie.
Right.
Kind
Yeah,
of like a
she's-
horror hostess.
Well, yeah, but they don't explain it to you. It's just this beginning. You're like, okay, so this is just a quirky way to start your movie. You're gonna brag about how wonderful it is, and you look for it in the store, and okay, whatever. And then she came back. You're like, why?
Like a couple times, I think she
Yeah,
pops in
it's
for
like
like
3
like
times.
5
like
seconds.
four times.
Yeah,
something
well,
like that.
including the end.
Toward the end. So
but it didn't make any sense.
it was just to make another extra joke because it was always
Right.
like a some kind of like chicken pun, or something. And
Well, it's interesting because normally you do that if you're doing like an anthology film where you're getting 3 or 4 or however many you've got different ones, and that is a device where you link them all somehow because they're all going back to this one character or thing.
Yeah.
That's the wraparound for that. Usually in a movie like this, you don't really need a wraparound.
Well, and once again, I felt like this was like Elvira type thing,
Yeah.
where it was a horror hostess who would, or whatever, sci-fi hostess, whatever you want to call her, and she's there doing it. But you're right. The problem with it is the beginning of the movie is her in the video store looking for the movie.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting had they had some kind of transition where you see her saying she's getting ready to host the show
Yes.
about the movie that she just rented. Something like
Yeah,
that. Because
yeah.
then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, I got it.
Right.
Like, I got it at the end. But a normal viewer who doesn't watch these things like yourself would be a little confused. Why were we seeing her
I
again?
kind of figured it out because I did
Yeah.
watch, some of those with the, the old horror movie hosts and hostesses, but it was just awkward.
Yeah, it was
Like,
a
I
little
get
awkward.
what the point, but it wasn't. She needed to introduce who she was, and we're watching this movie, and then you're like, okay, so she's gonna pop in. You're expecting it,
Yeah.
even if it was
Yeah.
just at the beginning and the
And
end. But this was
it's-
just like, I'm looking for my movie. This movie, it's so wonderful, and the movie starts. You're like,
It's just a
okay.
little weird because, Genevieve Rossi is playing the main character, but she's also playing this other character with obviously her with just a wig and a boa
Well,
on.
that was the joke where the guy was like, "You kind of look like her."
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of funny. I was like, "That's her, right? Like that is her," and it was. Yeah.
It was.
And she was obviously having a lot of fun. This,
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanted at
Oh,
first,
yeah.
like, because a lot of times we call these like vanity projects. I don't call that.
I would
though.
not call this a vanity project so
because
much.
no, because this was more like this was just something she really enjoyed doing, and she's an actress who does do like she's not like Neil Breen who acts in just his own movies.
Well, that too. Usually I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I agree with it not being a vanity project because while she was a main character, she wasn't the main character throughout it.
And she didn't have
So,
Neil Breen type special, powers or something like she wasn't the only one who can stop these things.
Right.
She was literally just trying to just get away from
Or
these things.
in a lot of other vanity projects, it's a matter of, look at me, look how wonderful I am, look what all these things I can do. I can write, I can direct, I can act, I can do all this stuff. That's not the point of this thing.
Yeah, the
the
show's
point of
making
this
fun
is
of
to
that
have
stuff.
is to have fun and to just be silly. And I like that. I like the idea of let's do a weird killer chicken movie. That's a great idea. I'd spend a couple of weekends doing that.
I know you
Come
would.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like I said, this is your if you had to make a movie, this is the type of movie you'd make.
Yes. Yes.
And so
Somebody else just off camera whacking somebody else over the head with a stuffed animal.
you like puppets.
I love that.
You love puppets, and you love really goofy shit happening with puppets. Like,
Right.
I think Meet the Feebles is one of your favorites.
Oh
you
yeah,
know, that
oh, yeah.
kind of thing.
And we did venture into some grosser territories here. We had a little Meet the Feebles stuff going on. There was some extra puppet sex. There was some puppet, extra bits and dangly pieces,
Graphic
graphic stuff.
sex.
There was some John Waters throwback in there.
Yeah, that was gross. Like, talk about that. Talk about the John Waters thing.
That was the one part where I could see on your face you were just like, oh God. I don't like
Well,
this."
and to me, it wasn't so much the picking up the turd and eating it. It was the okay, and now we're gonna spend a good 30 seconds to a full minute zooming in almost on her teeth, eating it with her mouth open. I mean, that's just gross. Doesn't matter what she's eating. I know it's a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Well,
just,
it wasn't. So it wasn't really a she, or
Yeah,
The
true.
character.
I'm
True,
not.
true.
Well, no, because the character was a. At one point, he was like.
It was a
I'm
guy
male
with
down
boobs.
here, but I'm all female everywhere
I know,
else.
it's
It was a
somehow-
great introduction too, because we
Oh,
didn't know
God.
where this. It was just
Person.
cutting from scene, and we have no idea. And the very first thing you see is this person's thighs wide open, pretty much.
Yeah.
And you see their underwear.
Yeah, and it was female underwear, and it was like, what in the world are
Hairy
we
legs,
watching?
hairy thighs.
Yeah, but
I loved that. That was funny.
Yeah, and you were saying something about that too, because Genevieve Rossi kind of goes with it, and usually men are the ones who do that, and
Right.
she was just like, you know what, let me I'm gonna, she was sort of like being the man in in one of these movies kind of thing, where it would be the man who's been surviving and doing all these things, so it sort of felt role reversed, which
Well,
is nice.
that and plus, like I said, it's usually the guys that are insisting that there's nudity or there's violence or there's some kind of
There was
exploitative
no nudity
that
in
there was
this
some kind of
movie.
exploitative angle with the women. And here she is kind of doing that, although she doesn't really. Right, there really
no
isn't any
nudity.
nudity. But there's definitely some exploitative stuff going on. There's some boob grabbing and some unnecessary frolicking, and there's definitely chicken sex going on and all that. But it's got a very different flavor, a very different angle to it. It's obviously there just to provoke people and make people's eyes rolls, or to make some people gross.
It's also, when you were talking about the role reversal, it's also she goes and she has sex with guys. Two.
Or three.
Well, yeah. And then she's like, okay, I'm out, bye. Like, I mean, she says in the beginning she's a lesbian, she has a wife. And then she hooks up with these two people, guys, half guy, whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, we could have sex, and then I'm out. Which is usually what the guys do. So, okay.
Yeah, so it's
Whatever,
a very role
you go.
reversal.
Although usually the guys don't bring the skull of their former lover with a purple wig on top.
I was gonna mention that because like the girl or whatever, her girlfriend dies, or wife or whatever it was.
I think
or
she had said
was
wife towards the end.
Okay.
Like it's not, it's not said in the beginning. It's definitely,
I didn't catch that, but I'm sure that happened. But she comes up and the chickens eat her, her lover, and then she
kills it with a snow shovel.
Kills it with a snow shovel. I guess she accidentally chopped off the head or something, or whatever, because we never.
Or the chickens did it.
Or the chickens did it.
Like a piranha in a cartoon.
Right.
Yeah.
Chicken piranhas.
Chicken piranhas. Now, there's an
no,
interesting.
no,
Yep.
no.
Cluck, 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 cluck.
Reel it in.
So anyway, she takes the head, and then we see the head, and it's a skull and not an actual head. And we were saying obviously that was because of money reasons,
prop
and stuff. Yeah, I mean it'd be even funnier if it was a mannequin head that looked nothing like her.
Although
I would have thought that.
I do insist that when we first saw her, she had blue hair, and then the wig that's on the skull is purple after that.
I think it's a lavender, and it depends on what lighting they were filming.
It's possible.
Well,
I'd have to go back and look.
I mean,
You
no,
do
but I
that.
thought you were
I'm
talking
not.
about. I thought you were talking about it was a different wig, and it was not a different wig. It was the same wig, but it was probably
It definitely
a different.
got rougher.
Oh
as it went
yeah.
on.
What you normally do in these situations is you have like somebody actually wear a wig, so say they wear like a blue wig or whatever, and then you put the blue wig on the head, so that way it looks like the same hair.
Right.
But,
well, for example, like I don't really think that there was a scene where any of Genevieve Rossi's characters fought any of the chickens. And I thought, what a great thing if she had actually fought one of the chickens or all the chickens using the skull. That would have been fun. That would have been interesting. Because otherwise, why even have the darn skull to begin with if you're just kind of bringing it around just as the joke in the beginning?
That was the emotional bit of it.
So she can't let go.
She can't let go, and she wants to keep the head. And then she shows the head to Edward X. Young at one point. It was like, oh, you've been. I was wondering when you were going to bring her up here.
Right.
She was up.
But I would have loved to have seen, that. Kind of like in Mystery Men with, what's her name, with the bowling ball, the bowler.
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
It would have been, but maybe it would have been felt like Mystery Men. This was sort of a different take, and I didn't mind it. I thought it was kind of a funny idea, is that she's just traveling with the head of her,
As you do, your
the
former
head of
lover.
her former lover. Why not?
Yeah.
The chickens are taking over.
I don't know what to do about these damn chickens.
So yeah, I don't know. I liked it. It was fun. It did drag on.
Yeah.
It's difficult to sustain comedy over a long period because scenes have to be quick. You have to have comic timing, and it does. But then it kind of some of the scenes go on a little too long.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
From a directing point of view, there were some interesting choices. There was a lot of like green screen kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. But that was also to go with the comedy, I think. Like, when we're like going, oh my God, that was driving us nuts, seeing the driving the car and seeing the green screen, that was obviously, this is not real, you know.
But it's funny because they also mixed in some really nice drone footage, which I don't know whether they did it or they purchased it or something, but some of that looked pretty darn good.
Going over some of the cities that had to have been purchased.
Yeah,
Because
probably.
Most likely.
You need a special license for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. What about the music? There was some interesting music in here too. There was a real mix of the soundtrack. You had some definite rock and roll, some punk, some country, some kind of stuff in between. And it was, who were they again? There was the Hogg brothers.
Yeah.
Jesse and the Hogg
Jesse,
brothers.
Yep.
What'd you guys think of that?
My problem with the music is it started and stopped abruptly.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I mean, a lot of times it fit with it, like in the beginning when Lisa and her wife are like, oh, the chickens are invading. Oh, there's killer chickens. They find out about it. They're like, well, might as well have sex before the world ends. And then you have sexy music come on. So it suited it. And then the music just stopped. Like the chickens attacked through, or no, the one guy tried to get into their house and the music just stopped. I was like,
Oh, the guy with the
Okay.
eyeballs.
The guy that they didn't help because
But
they didn't like him anyway.
Vinny. I think it was Vinny.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah. But
We thought that was
kinda-
funny.
Yeah. I mean, the music was fine. It went with it.
Because
it
they-
actually matched a lot of the scenes. However, like I said, it's that abruptness. Like music, no
Right.
music. This music, this music.
Clearly, she had band people that she could count on for as characters and as actors, because we've got the one band that they attack, and then when they're fighting the quote unquote hillbillies, they're sitting there playing too. Like the one guy's strumming a
That was probably Jesse and the Hogg brothers.
yeah, most
that,
likely.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. So if you've got them and they're going to be doing the music anyway, sure, give them a part, throw them in there.
Well, yeah. I mean, once again, it reminded me of Punk Rock Holocaust. I mean, I just think literally, it just at times, and I don't even know if she's even seen that movie. You know, probably not. But like, it just reminded me of that idea of like just. You know, we've got these people here. Let's kill them. But James Balsamo does
We have
that.
these people. Let's kill
Let's
them.
kill them.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, normally,
Welcome to Indie Film Cafe.
in normal circumstances, you go outside and say that. That's usually a bad thing. But when
Normally.
you're saying it
Yeah.
in this context, it's fine. But no, but
Really, officer?
yeah.
you know, just listen to our show. You'll understand.
Oh, Lord.
But yeah, I was, you know, that's what I was thinking. Is like when I saw, you know, when I saw this, I was going, okay, so there's these people here. Like we have a lot of the hooker stuff in the beginning, right? And these people, I'm like, okay, they're gonna die, but like they kind of do it like one people at a time because they need to space everything out a little bit.
Well, they need
And-
to reuse the same people.
And they went down fighting. There was an awful lot of air slapping.
Well, at
and-
first they were fighting each other because it was a turf war. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the chickens
I
come
don't
in.
know what turf they were fighting over. The lady in a sundress and hat.
There was a little. It reminded me of Chris Seaver right
It
there.
did.
That
It
scene.
did. I even said that one lady. I forgot. I don't know who she was necessarily. There was one girl like in the middle that looked like Jesse Ames, and I was
Yep.
like, I don't think she's in this, but like it looked
I
like her.
I would love to talk with Genevieve Rossi and ask if she's a Chris Seaver fan.
I'm sure she is. I'm surprised she hasn't worked with them because they are New York people, you know. So maybe one
Maybe
day.
Tina Cross knows her.
Probably. A lot of these people know each other because A, the convention scene, so they see each other at these things. And then B, just knowing other filmmakers and working with
So,
them.
what are the odds that you think we could get her on our spotlight show?
I'd love to. I'd love to talk to her.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. But yeah, probably after this is already aired.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, like I said, this movie started off as a short, and then I guess she just decided that let's go for it and go for the full feature. I'm kind of glad that it was only an hour and 3 minutes, as I said earlier. I don't think stretching it out to an hour and a half, or God forbid 2 hours, it would not have worked. It would have fallen flat. And
Yeah.
an hour and 3 minutes was pushing it as it is. So that was a
Yeah.
wise decision.
Yeah. I mean, I
think
agree.
If there was more of a storyline, then you could push it out that way. But
Yeah,
even if it was following the news guy. See, I didn't find the news guy as annoying as y'all did.
no, I didn't find him annoying at all. Paul did.
I know,
Yeah.
Paul was ready for him to die.
He was
But
too
see,
many
if
appearances.
you could have had him continuing through the end, and he's, given the explanation. Oh, they have taken over. Oh, they are going after the Forbidden Zone. What's the Forbidden Zone? We don't know. They just talked about the Forbidden Zone.
And
All of a sudden it appeared. And
Did you notice
Yeah.
they keep saying things like the killer chickens have taken over? Nobody seems particularly distressed about
No,
that.
you're pointing that out.
People are driving around. People are going to bars and going to restaurants.
Yeah.
Life goes on.
taking over in Birdemic style.
The bartender, I laughed at it because
yeah.
the girl, Lisa was like, the world's being taken over by killer chickens, and he looks over and says, yeah, I heard something about that.
And walks off.
It's like you said, oh, the new iPhone just came out. Yeah, I heard about that.
Well, yeah, this seems like a more appropriate thing than somebody going, "Oh my God, there's killer chickens attacking us." Which, I mean, to be honest, okay. So, if real killer chickens are coming to attack us and everything, would you just be like, that's interesting, but that's okay, whatever, and walk off? Or would you be like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because I don't know what I would say. I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like, this is just weird.
And I do like the whole Walking Dead sort of thing where they throw in there where you've got some humans who are betraying the rest of humanity by enslaving or capturing meat-eating. I don't know how they're going to know that they're meat-eating people, but, and putting them in this quote-unquote cage, which is just chicken wire, and, feeding them to the chickens. I thought that was clever. I like that.
You can't, nobody can tell, what's the chicken's name? The main girl chicken, Betty. You can't tell Betty that Edward X. Young's character worked at a chicken farm.
It's true.
He would have, that would have broke her heart.
Although I did want to ask the chickens why they wanted. I mean, obviously they wanted to kill the humans that ate chicken as revenge, but if they're eating them, then they're eating people who ate chickens. So they're like second generation cannibals. Whereas you think if they were going for vegetarians or vegans, then you could say that they were eating, a vegan meal,
A vegan meal. I don't know, maybe.
The questions.
Do I think too much about this stuff?
I know, you're not supposed to think too much about it.
I can't help it.
It's a silly movie that doesn't... I don't think they even took that time.
No.
They were just like, you know what, we're going to make a movie. It's going to be so silly.
Movie.
And if anybody comes to us and says, this is so stupid, you shouldn't do this, we're just going to laugh at them. Because...
How is this not released by Troma, though? I mean, especially because Uncle Lloyd is there. I mean, this is right up Troma style.
As much as I love Uncle Lloyd, and we are big fans of Troma,
oh, yeah.
I'm not saying this in any kind of thing, but Troma has been kind of failing in a way as a company, and it's not Lloyd's fault, and it's not
He's getting
Michael
up there in
Hurst.
age.
It's more so that he sort of hires a lot of incompetent people to kind of run things, and it's just sort of it doesn't make a great distribution company. We were talking before to one of the guys that runs helps with Full Moon.
I remember.
And the Full Moon guy had they have a plan for when, unfortunately, Charles' band unfortunately has to go. Who's going to take over? What's going to happen? I mean, they have it all planned out, and so I feel like that's sort of what's needed is somebody to come into Troma at some point, not me, but somebody to come into Troma and say, Lloyd, I would love to take over and help make sure that your vision for independent art is seen, the way that you want to, and make sure that this. But unfortunately, I don't think that's.
I'm really hoping that part of that plan for Charles' band is that Robin Sidney moves to Virginia and
works with us.
Gets to hang out with us and eat snacks and
that would be
movies.
a great plan. I don't think
I love that plan. I really love that plan.
Okay, William Butler, make sure that plan happens for us because But I don't think. Yeah, well, I mean, did you see Ginger Dead Man? You saw Ginger Dead Man, right?
Yeah.
With us.
I don't think I saw that one.
That was the evil cookie.
I don't
with
think
Gary
I saw
Busey.
that one.
Oh my gosh.
I know we showed somebody.
We showed somebody. I don't remember who it was.
Was it Lenore? It wasn't Lenore. No.
How did I not torment you with that?
Lucky. I was lucky.
He was an evil cookie, played by Gary Busey.
No, I don't think I ever saw that one.
Oh my goodness, we'll have to.
No, that's okay.
We'll get you on
showed it
Patreon
to
only.
somebody. That's fine. You got it covered.
We'll get you on Patreon only because you got to see it. It's adorable.
It is sort of
I do
adorable.
not trust your judgment.
Of what adorable is. He probably thought this was adorable.
It
At
was
times. See?
the puppets. How could you not want to take one of those puppets?
I
Can't say puppets are real high on my list of cute things to have.
No, I agree with you. I don't like puppets nearly as much as he does. I do like them a little bit, but like
I mean, it goes way back to when I was a kid and I had a stuffed animal collection, and I would just run around and just attack people or menace people or annoy people with my stuffies. It was just great. Exactly.
yeah. There's I'm attacking Paul with a fuzzy bunny.
We could make a whole movie based on that right now.
Like,
Awesome.
I can see that happening.
So, I mean, fair props to Genevieve Rossi. This is right up my alley. I mean, this is exactly the kind of thing that, I mean, I would love to do. Maybe not necessarily with chickens, so to speak, but puppets in general, something silly and ridiculous.
Right. So for this is something just in your wheelhouse. This is something that you really enjoy. Jen, I don't think, but I think you knew that when you picked it because you said to me, "Oh God, Jen's gonna hate me on this." But I mean, me and you are sort of more similar on that thing, so I don't know. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it at all. I thought it was pretty fun.
This is not Miss Werewolf. Come on.
They're all bad. I will say with this one, like I didn't care for it, but I could see moments of comedy in it. Like I did like in the beginning where they're like, "Oh, we need to save this guy," and like, "Nah, we didn't like him anyways." Like, "Oh yeah, you're right." Okay, I could see that working really well in a better made movie. So there were like bits and pieces, but overall, not my cup of tea.
I see. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, this is going to have a very niche audience. This is not going to appeal to, say, the general horror movie watching fan out there. I mean, you have to sort of be a fan of ridiculous parodies and just ridiculous movies in general.
Yep.
Probably would have maybe been a better choice for What the Fuck Fridays, but
no, I don't think so.
That's why I'm not there.
Yeah, see, for her, that's happy, But
Yeah, I'm fine.
I think this is perfect for Indie Film Cafe.
yeah, to me, if it had really crossed the line in some of those other scenes, it probably would have been more.
If it got to Chris Seaver territory, where he takes it to the ski wolf level, sort of thing.
We didn't quite get that far.
Yeah, so. Which goes to show maybe that's why it's made by a woman.
There you go.
Because the women scale it back a little bit. They kind of do the idea that guys have, but they don't go the extra mile that these dudes will go because they don't.
No, they do it in puppet form, apparently.
But, yeah, the lack of nudity, the lack of realistic sex. I mean, there is some chicken sex, but A, it's with a puppet, and B,
and the
everybody's got the
just
clothes
bouncing
on.
up and down, which means that somebody is just having that thing go like up and down like that, like their hand.
And they've all got their clothes on.
Yeah.
The violence is just somebody hitting somebody lightly with a puppet with barbecue sauce on them.
We forgot to mention that the turf war scene
is
is literally the funniest battle I've ever seen in my life. It's
really
just ridiculous. It's just silly.
The people themselves are ridiculous.
Yeah,
so.
and they were trying to be ridiculous.
Right.
Like these are just actors who are having fun making something silly.
I love how the African American guy who was named Cyrus, just like in Warriors, that was funny.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna make a joke like Miley Cyrus, or something, but
I was almost expecting the baseball Furies to come out and fight the chickens on roller skates with baseball bats. That would have been funny.
Yeah. And then the chickens look over and go, "I'm gonna shove that bat so far up your ass I turn you into a popsicle."
Oh yeah, James Remar. Oh, if only James Remar had been at that same convention, she could have gotten him in there.
Maybe. He'd most likely play the president then.
There you go.
You know, which David Naughton, it was really cool to see
Yeah.
him, but it was just, all I could say was, like, if you're going to have them play the president, man, put a desk or something, you know, like, because it just looked like, oh man, they did. Because I was going to mention earlier, there's another guy. Now, talk about somebody who goes a little far, does a lot of nudity, somebody you would not want to watch. James Balsamo.
Oh, James Balsamo.
Goes to all these horror conventions, and that's how, like, me, Shro, and and Roberto Lombardi got to be in his Bite School movie. It's just, we were there, and I said, hey, do you have a, you know, because I knew he shot his stuff at the conventions. I said, hey, do you want to, you know, be in, or have us be in your movie and stuff? And he was like, can you find us somebody who will do nudity? And I said, I know a person who's perfect. And so I got Ashley. I got Ashley to do it. No, the dude wanted to see me in my boxers, and I did that. That's the furthest. And I looked at James and I said, I'm not going any further. And he goes, don't worry, nobody else wants to see that. I was like, ouch. You know, yeah, I love James though. James is a sweet dude, but that's the thing. Like, he shoots those movies like that. We have not done a James Balsamo movie.
Not
we
yet.
will.
We haven't quite done a Beelzebub movie. We're getting there, but this is also up his alley. However, Beelzebub is all about, you know, crossing the line, stomping on the line, peeing on the line, and making sure that everybody and their brother is you know, insulted and offended by what he's doing. This is not that. This is more lighthearted, ridiculous.
He even told us that we can trash his movie all he wants, and he doesn't care.
He was there, drunk pissed as a fart, and having a blast. And God, he gave us some free movies too, didn't he?
Yeah, he gave us some free movies.
Yeah, he was
He
great.
was like, hey,
cool guy. I liked him.
Yeah. He was like, you don't have this, do you? Oh.
But there are definitely people who will not like his films, and because they do go there.
Yeah, this doesn't go there.
This doesn't go there.
But I think that was another thing of, like, this felt more like, if it didn't have a lot of the cursing, would have felt more like a teen, like more kiddie kind of thing. Unfortunately, it did have a little bit of cursing and a little bit of like the weird, you know, grossness that kind of went a little
some
overboard.
bad taste stuff.
So that it just felt like it was a little confusing, because I wish they had sort of leaned more into the kids stuff, like where the adults could watch it, but like they could watch it with their kids, you know, and stuff. I would have preferred that, you know. So me personally, but that's how I write too a lot. So I'm more teen centered. You know,
it definitely some of the stuff felt. I agree, at that age level.
Juvenile.
Yeah.
Very juvenile. Yeah.
And that was sort of, I enjoyed that, you know, because it did sort of make me go, okay, this is something you could show to nope, you can't show to a kid.
But the thing is, I mean, how could you make this into like a serious horror film? You can't. There's just no way. There's no way anybody could do this with a straight face.
Yeah, it wasn't really a horror film at all.
No.
It was sort of just a goofy comedy with chickens taking over the world, you know, as they do.
As they do. As they rise up against their betters, you know.
And they have a giant chicken who looks like John Lake.
I do like the fact that Poultrygeist was brought up several times, you know.
Yeah, they were getting retribution for Poultrygeist. And I'm like, wasn't Poultrygeist about chickens taking over? Like, why
Night
is
of
that?
the Chicken Dead.
Yeah. Why do they have to get retribution on that? Because the humans killed the chickens at the end?
The other thing that I was thinking of was Luther the Geek, where Luther is a serial killer with metal teeth who was a geek because he used to bite the heads off of chickens, and that deranged his mind, so he runs around clucking like a chicken. And at the end, Stacy Haiduk has to escape, and she clucks with him. So there's like a 15-minute scene where they're clucking back and forth like chickens. It's so ridiculous.
Why isn't that been on IOC?
So it's because it's on my list. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But so there's this whole thing about weird chicken movies that is
in
definitely
3
out
years,
there.
expect Luther the Geek to be on 3 seasons from
So
now.
funny. But that was a movie that they tried to do seriously. They tried to make this a serious horror film, and it just didn't work. If you're gonna do a weird chicken movie, this is the way to do it, in my opinion. Have some fun. Have some puppets.
I had a fun time.
You know.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Right.
You know.
Right. I mean, with a title like Attack of the Killer Chickens, the movie, there are certain expectations, and to me, those expectations were met. It's going to be a silly, ridiculous film.
We did Attack of the Killer
Donuts.
And I mean,
Love that movie.
Yeah.
Little donuts going boing, 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 boing.
I know. I'm surprised the chickens didn't go boing, boing, boing. You know, like,
well,
they
those
went bark, bark, bark.
Chickens all floated around at about chest level.
right where people's arms are because they were
Yep.
puppets. Difference between a puppet movie and a CGI movie because the little donuts were mostly CGI.
That's bounce.
So
I don't know,
hey, when you have a little bit more of a budget, when you have a little more chicken scratch, you can
No.
you can do the CGI. So yeah, that's funny. So yep. There you
we're
go.
at that
I think
time.
we're at that time. So for those of you who are new to our show, this is the part where we start to review it based on our stinkometer, where we score on a movie 1 to 10. And the lower the number, the better the film is. The higher the number, the stinkier it is. And when we're talking about stink, we're not just talking about the fact that it's a cheap, ridiculous, silly, over-the-top B movie. We're actually talking about that there were more problems. So things like he couldn't see it, couldn't hear it, that kind of a thing. Because there are movies where we had no idea what was going on, couldn't even see the damn thing. You know, this didn't really have those kind of a problem, but you never know. So we take our 3 scores, we score them up, and by the way, you can give a 0.5 score if you want. And then we total it all up, and then we see where in the season that movie happens to rank. And if it's really stinky, if it's really bad and gets a 30, it might ascend all the way to stinky heaven with the likes of Miss Werewolf and every Neil Breen movie ever made. I don't know that it's quite going to get there.
Not in my opinion.
We shall see. So, let's go with you first,
Okay.
Mr. Moody. Dying to hear what you have to say about Attack of the Killer Chickens.
So I thought about it and hard because as I was watching it, I was going, this is actually not a terribly done movie. Like, this isn't, once again, like you said, you can see it, you can hear it. There are silliness to it. Like, it knows exactly what it is, you know? So I was going to give it probably a lower score. And then, toward the end of the movie, it sort of drags a little bit. And I kind of felt like there was in the ending, there was no real point.
It just kind of ground to a
just kind of
halt.
ended.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, I was kind of hoping something more fun would. And even at the end, the girl says, "Oh, this is a stinky movie. You know, this movie's terrible, blah, blah, blah." So, like, once again, they knew that they had done something, you know, whatever. They didn't care. It's kind of Monty Python-like, you know, or whatever. So I'm still gonna have to give it a 6. I think it's a fun movie. Like, I can watch this again.
Mm-hmm.
I can watch this by myself because, you know, it's not that terrible of a movie. And I almost kind of want to own it. I'm kind of jealous you have it.
So you and Chicken Betty by yourselves are going to watch this together?
Exactly.
Make some eggs?
Make some big eggs, and John Wink will come back out and rise from the dead.
In all our dreams, I'm sure.
This was dedicated to John Wink, by the way, and I thought that was sweet.
That was nice.
Yeah.
That was nice.
So,
Do you want me to go or do you want to go?
You go.
Me
I
go.
hear what you have to say.
All right. I'm going to echo everything that Jonathan says. We have seen far worse made movies than this. Again, that we can see it. We understood what was going on. You could hear it. The acting was decent. I mean, there was some stuff that was clearly over the top or ridiculous, but then it fits in with the style of this film.
I think that was meant to be like
Yeah,
that, you know.
there was bare bones budgeting allowed for some of the props and some of the other things, but again, it fits in with the aesthetic of the film. So I didn't really have any problem with that. I didn't really notice too many mistakes. The problem to me was the fact that the story there really wasn't much put towards the story. And like I said, it kind of grounds to an end. We get lost, especially in the third act. And, you know, I'd like to think that if a little bit more had been spent towards creating a much more interesting narrative, then we could have been wanting, like, for example, at the end of the Richard Moog movie, I wanted to know what else was going to happen with Candy Pickles. I mean, she was a cool character, and it sort of hints at other stuff going on. Mm-hmm. I didn't really feel like that for this movie. To me, there was more things like, oh, I wish she had done this, or I wish she had done that. but I wasn't thinking I'd love to see more about this.
I know her character wasn't bland, but it wasn't. It needed something more where she needed to be the hero.
It was fun, but it wasn't quite as fun as that, But who knows? People make their own movies, and they're all different and all that. But I'm going to go with a 6 as well. That was kind of how I was going. It's got a little bit of stink to it, but
that's the point.
Yeah, it not only did it want to do that, it used it as an asset, which I agree with. And yeah, this was a very entertaining film, and I really liked it. People, if you're gonna make a movie about killer chickens, this is the way to do it. And if you're not a sort of standard person, then this is a lot of fun. I can't wait to show Gary.
Gary will love it.
So what about you, Just Jenn?
I guess I am a standard person.
That's okay. That is okay.
We're just gonna.
There's nothing wrong with that.
First of all, let's reiterate that Paul and I
are the weirdos.
Yeah, well, not just the weirdos, but we watch these things all the time. This is our wheelhouse. So, and we know some of the people in this movie and stuff, or have seen them in multiple projects. Jen is the normie of the group, so whatever she says, period, after this is typical of.
She's the one you shouldn't be frightened of if you see her in a dark alley. The rest of us are just ridiculous.
Because I wouldn't be in a dark alley, so I know better. Yeah, so there weren't, just listening to you guys, and you have to agree, there weren't as many issues. You could see it. Some of the cuts were a little drastic. Like I said, I did have issues with the sound.
There was one point where the guy was speaking, and Paul couldn't hear what he was saying. And it sounded like he was saying gibberish. And I think that was the point.
That was gibberish, because then he obviously was dubbed over like bad kung fu.
And I didn't get that at first. That's the problem.
He didn't look like he should be kung fu.
Yeah.
I think that was the issue with that guy.
Did you like the screaming opera chick? I forgot to mention her.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, she kept dying with screaming. Yeah.
Yes.
But she was the hooker, right?
Right.
Yeah. She was the one where the guy wanted a refund from the day before.
Right.
Yeah, the blonde, because there was like the blonde and then
the redhead.
The redhead.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Red, let's go. And
Yeah, very few of them got names.
Yeah, I bet that's literally like redhead.
If they did, they escaped me.
Yeah, no, there weren't many. But yeah, so issues like that, and actually the green screen compared to some of the stuff, shall we call it, that you have shown me was a lot better. I think it was really just the car scene and the scenery going by that was
off-putting.
If you get car sickness, you would have gotten sick watching that. But all of that was pretty good, except for the turf war. The costumes were okay. That was.
You don't think they'd fight in a sundress?
No, she's probably going to a Starbucks to complain at the manager in that outfit.
You saying she's a Karen?
Yeah.
Okay. She's a Karen hooker? Well, that's crazy.
But she's not caring about chickens.
All right.
Yeah, of course, the puppets were ridiculous as they were meant to be. But the scenery was interesting. Yeah, the story, losing the story, not having a main character to follow, having these random characters show up, like the lady, in between, and not really getting that. And yeah, like I said, it's not my cup of tea. It's not a style that I like. I do like spoof movies and stuff. I'm not a big puppet person like Paul.
Puppets.
So unfortunately for you guys, I am going to have to put it up there at an 8.5.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes, because I did find, as you point out, there were some boring moments. There were things that dragged on. But for me, the big thing I couldn't overlook was the lack of story, and then how it just fizzled out. Chickens took over the earth. You have this half chicken, half human hybrid. Credits. Wait, what?
Yeah.
And that's why one thing why I mentioned having the news guy stay alive. He at least could have a news story at the end. Chickens have taken over the earth and blah blah blah. But you don't get any of that. It's mentioned it in passing. So, anyways, that's it.
What about the scenes where Edward X. Young is smooching the chicken? Did that bother you?
I could have done with all those things. The smooching was okay. You're smooching foam lips. foam beak on a chicken. It was those other scenes that I could
with
have
the
lived
fake sex,
without.
but where they're
Yeah.
clothed and have the thing
Or
bouncing.
the genitalia on the chickens.
Yeah,
The chicken talia.
that was much for me.
Yeah, no, I get it. There is some moments where we go there, like I
chicken
said.
talia.
Yeah, chicken talia. Yeah, there's a little too much gizzards and guts there.
It was,
I liked it. I don't know. I thought it was funny.
I was expecting one or two cock jokes. We got a few more.
We got a few.
We didn't get as many cock jokes as I was expecting. Like we talked about beforehand. Be ready for this. And I'm like, yeah, I get the.
Or,
Yeah.
in general,
many.
there weren't as many chicken jokes. Like, I expected at least a few drumstick and a few chicken breast.
You said that they missed a couple of drumstick
Yeah, I would have,
jokes
because
and stuff.
like at one point where the drummer's being pecked to death, and he's got 2 drumsticks. I would have expected him to at least said something about chicken drumsticks, but
Right, yeah.
it didn't happen.
The drumsticks are killing me.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Or a gravy joke, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but they
didn't ask for enough.
Maybe
dad jokes.
they didn't do that because they just didn't want it the whole time. You would have been okay with that.
Oh,
but
I'd have been
a lot
so
of
over the
people
top.
would have been like, okay, this is getting annoying, and you love annoying, so it
Yes,
doesn't bother you.
yes,
You know?
I love troll. That's why I want to make a movie. A is to have fun, and B to troll the hell out of people.
Yeah, you want people to go, okay, I gotta turn this shit off. And then that's
Yep.
like Paul's
Yes.
Paul's dream project.
Yeah.
It's like 5 minutes in, like, nope.
There's a movie, and he refuses to watch it, but it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes that this guy made. He made it in England, and he made it specifically to piss off the British censorship, because they're required to watch every single movie that you put out over there, and he hates that. So he made a movie called I think it's called Dry, but it's basically 2 hours and 40 minutes of literally watching paint dry. The camera's pointed at the wall, there's paint, and it's beginning to end nothing but that. I love that idea. I think that's hysterical.
But
I would love to do that at Indie Film Cafe. And he's like, no.
No, well, I mean, because it's already been done, so that's.
No,
don't
not
do that.
make it. Watch it and review it.
Oh,
What are you
no.
gonna review?
Yeah, you can barely like.
So much to talk about.
No, there's nothing to talk about if that's all it is.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Oh, that's a
like
lovely
we'd have to
shade
do
of
a
white.
short review of it or something, but no, like a 2-minute review.
Well, maybe if you added a chicken puppet, it would be worth doing.
No. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, that in itself is an interesting idea, doing the paint dry thing, because this is so boring. It's like watching paint dry, and then you actually see a movie that's boring because it's about watching paint dry.
And it's made just to piss off the censors because they're required to do that. I just love that idea.
But this is
Yeah,
also
that's
coming from the guy who loves to listen to cow stuff for like 2 hours while he works, or something, like you like that. You think that you're into that stuff,
As if people didn't think I was weird to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh, they all knew.
Yeah, everybody knows.
They all knew.
Yeah, well, guilty as charged. What can I say? Oh, well.
We all have our own oddities.
There you go. But that's,
I mean-
as for a score, that's not too bad. So that's
20
about 20, 21,
25.
something like that. No, it's less than that.
No, 20.5.
Yeah, 20.5. So pretty
That's what I'm
good.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. You want to go out and check that out. So we're going to put the link up there so that everybody who wants to buy it can go out and buy it. And I think you should. I think it's a fun, interesting little film.
I guess
Maybe
I think
not
it's
your
on
cup of
Tubi.
tea.
No.
But there are going to be some folks out there who are going to be like, oh, yes, I want to watch a bunch of chicken puppets killing people.
Yeah,
So much
I will
fun.
say the DVD, the cover doesn't. It
good
looks
art.
professional. Yeah.
It's good art.
It's looking at that it's low budget, but it doesn't have that what I kind of consider the crayon look to it.
Right.
Like
It looks more polished.
Yes, it definitely looks more polished. So
And
Yeah.
I like it, yeah.
It was well done.
It was I think the movie itself was sort of well done. I enjoyed it.
So I don't know if Cluck Cluck Productions is going to do more things. I am kind of hoping that they do. We shall see. At some point, I would love to talk to Genevieve Rossi to see what she has in store, to see how the movie came about and what her thought process was behind all of this. And we'll have to get you to get her on the show. I think it'd be great.
If she'll come on, that'll be fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, we'll see if she'll come out of her shell.
Come out of her egg?
Come out of her eggshell.
No.
All right, everybody. I think they're already done with the
Yeah.
with the puns.
We've clucked around enough, huh?
I know. Too much.
Well, thank you all for joining us in yet another episode of Indie Film Cafe. Please come back, next week, next month, next something, for the next episode. Mm-hmm. Yep. It was almost Night of the Lepus, but I promise Night of the Lepus is on the list too. That would have been perfect for Easter as well, because it's bunnies. But we got chickens instead.
Chickens, works.
There you go. But anyway, we will see you all on the flip side, and that's it. Bye.
Bye.
And we are out.
Waving at the microphone, no one can see it.
Attack of the Killer Chickens.